Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Share the Health podcast with your co-hosts, Amy, Kaitlyn, and Mariah.
This podcast is for women who feel frustrated by the failures of the traditional healthcare system and are looking for solutions.
We'll be diving into all things women's health, being a female business owner, and life as a woman. Now let's get into today's episode. Welcome.
All right, Kaitlyn, let's talk about your business today.
All right, I am Kaitlyn. I am the owner of Family Nutrition Solutions. So we are a nutrition counseling practice, and we really specialize in perinatal health. So all the way from fertility throughout pregnancy and then postpartum. And I always describe postpartum as however long someone feels like they're postpartum. So of course, we'll do lots of work like immediate postpartum and with breastfeeding, but I get lots of people that are like 1 to 2 years postpartum, and they feel like, I thought that I would be feeling better at this point. I thought that I would feel like myself again. I would like to start trying to have another kid, but I don't feel like myself yet. And so then that's when they finally find us. And to me, that's still postpartum, because they're just still feeling like something's off ever since they had a baby. So I want to help them feel like themselves as a person, separate from just being a mom.
Yeah. How do people like what, obviously, because I see the same thing in pelvic floor therapy. People are like 2 years postpartum. They're like, I've actually never felt the same again. So like like from a nutrition point of view, like what do they say? Like, what do they come to you with? Or they're like, hey, like something's wrong.
Yeah. So often they really just say like something feels off and I don't know what it is.
Okay.
I think now that there's a lot more information about like our hormones, people will say like my hormones are just off. But I don't think they even know exactly what that means. They just feel like something's not right. The specific symptoms that they'll describe is just like, I'm so tired all the time, and I'm really irritable, and like I get frustrated with my kids, and but like the fatigue and exhaustion and very stressed. Like they can't take on anymore, or they're like really reactive when something happens. They feel like their cup is like constantly overflowing. And of course, there's a piece of this where it's like, okay, we can talk to a mental health therapist to help manage, stress and some of that piece of it. But there's so much nutritionally that we can do to support our bodies, to help kind of get everything more balanced and situated. So like the first thing we hear is, I have more energy.
Yeah, that's huge, because I feel like an issue we have is like chronic fatigue and chronic like tiredness. And I say
Yeah.
that.
And so when you're making like, yeah, like a few, not even huge changes, just some small changes with what you're eating or when you're eating, and then to feel like, oh my gosh, I have that energy back and I can get through the day. And that like 5 to 7 o'clock until you get your kids down for bed isn't like the absolute worst time ever. That can go a lot of ways for a lot of moms.
Just by changing like little things and like adding different things that their body might be like missing, like mineral wise, right?
Right. Yeah. The other thing we hear a lot is like, okay, I feel like something's wrong, and I went to my doctor and they said that all my labs are normal. And so we, dive a little bit deeper, and we're looking at, okay, rather than like, do you just have a disease? Your labs are that out of range. Are you just like out of an optimal range? Because we want people feeling optimally, not just not having a disease.
Yeah, exactly. And I hear that a lot too. Like in healthcare, it's kind of like, oh, I went for testing and everything looked normal. They can't find anything wrong. I feel like that's a story a lot of people have. And it's kind of one of the reasons why, like, because I started like working with you guys for nutrition, I kind of was just like, and I think I said this before, like I was kind of like, what, I'm just gonna directly work with a dietitian because, what's the point of like jumping through multiple hoops when I can just go straight to like the source, which I know, like I know I'm not in a disease state, but I want to know how to like be as healthy as possible and prevent it from happening.
Right. And I try not to like totally poo-poo on doctors, but I try to clarify that like doctors learn how to give a medication for a disease,
Mhm.
and I have learned how to use food and sometimes it's supplements because we just can't get enough from food. But food supplements, lifestyle changes to help support either optimal health or to help, treat diseases.
Yeah.
Um, so if you're not wanting to go the medication route, then working with the dietitian is perfect.
Great.
Because then
Yeah.
we can give you those lifestyle recommendations.
Yeah, definitely. Um, did you like what inspired you to even start your business? Because you didn't always have your own business.
Right. So what got me to start my own business is after having my first daughter. Um, I I have done lots of work with pregnancy, postpartum, and kids. So I had a lot of that knowledge, but there were no resources given to me after having my first kid. And I felt like I spent so much time Googling every single thing that happened to her of like, is this normal in a baby? Is this normal in an infant? Is this normal? She's this old. And if I also had to look into things of like, how do I make sure I have enough milk supply? And how do I make sure that I'm feeding myself well? And if like I personally wasn't super stressed about like I needed to lose all of the baby weight immediately after. Um, I didn't have to worry about, how to introduce solids to her because I had all of this knowledge. And if
Mhm.
I had to add that onto my plate on top of all of the other concerns of just being a new mom, I think I would have exploded.
Mhm.
And so then those are the concerns that I hear too, is like, I'm breastfeeding and I'm worried about my supply and not like, is this causing gas? Do I need to change my diet?
Mhm.
So I wanted to, like, I felt like there was something missing. Like, why aren't there more of these resources for moms to support them through their pregnancy and postpartum and starting solids with their kids to give them more of that support?
Yeah. Yeah. You need so much, like as especially as a new mom and you're like nursing, like you have to fuel your body so much. And I'm sure like most moms like aren't able to, like they're too busy or like I don't know.
Yeah, well, and then like especially with nutrition, there's so much crap online
Mm.
that it can like you're just on a hamster wheel. It's awful.
Yeah, like who do you
Yeah.
believe?
Right. That's one of our biggest issues at Women in Strength is women coming in being like, oh, I've tried this and this, but this didn't work. I'm like, that's because you're doing way too much research. You're going like, just stop and like, just go back to the basics of everything and give that a try.
Yeah, Dr. Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can be so nice to just not have to like worry about you're like, is this going to work or is it not going to work? Like we just provide the direction of like, let's do this, let's try this. This is proven to work.
Mhm.
Um, so that that nutrition piece can like come off of mom's mental loads.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And like especially I feel like in all three of our areas, people go to Google all the time and get overwhelmed. And it is nice, I think, to just work with a professional and go off of like what they're telling you, since they are the ones that is like, you know, you guys are doing the research to know like what to recommend and have the education to know what to recommend, versus going down a rabbit hole on Google. Which one time I gave a patient their homework, their physical therapy homework was don't go on Google. Google your symptoms.
That's a good one.
It was causing so much anxiety, and I was like, you just can't do it anymore. Like you need to stop.
Yes.
Mm,
Yes, absolutely.
um, yeah. Do you? And I'm super curious about this too, because Kaitlyn, I feel like you're all in nutrition. Like, is this something that you always wanted to do, like little Kaitlyn?
Yes, little Kaitlyn was meant to be a dietitian.
Oh,
When I was like 7 years old, I got very into gymnastics. And I would get on our family computer, like we only had one of those like giant computers in our living room. And I would get on and I did research on what was the best diet for a gymnast. How often did I need to eat? How much water did I need to drink? And I had basically like a little meal plan set out for myself for like, because I would go to gym for like 4 to 5 hours every single day
oh
after
my
school.
gosh.
And so it was like, okay, this was my like after school snack, and then this is what I had at my break and for dinner, and I needed to drink so much water. Um, yeah, so I think it was just like in me. But then I went through my own like GI issues, my entire childhood and like through college, and helped my mom make some of, you know, relatively basic, just like lifestyle changes to get healthier, lose some weight. And that was when I was like, I really like this. Is there a job that can help me, like allows me to help other people be healthier?
Mhm.
And that's when I discovered like what a dietitian is. But that was like my freshman year of high school. And so then at that point, I was just researching schools that I could go to that would, you know, allow me to do this as a career.
Wow, that's amazing. One of my favorite things, Kaitlyn, that you do is your series on Instagram. Shit, that pisses me off. It's like my favorite thing. I think the other day I actually went through your Instagram and only watched all of them.
They're always really fun and honestly, like it's usually like I'm scrolling through Instagram myself and I see something pop up and I'm like, oh dear, like this is filtering through the internet. This is going to be the thing that my patients come to me and say, like, I saw this thing on Instagram or on TikTok. And then they want to do some wild, crazy thing. And I'm like, it just drives me crazy.
Oh, that's funny. Um, cool. Do you like in terms of like your business, do you have a vision? Because like you guys do more than just pregnancy postpartum. Like I know you have something that like specializes in fertility. So it's like definitely all encompassing, right?
Yeah, so Sarah is another dietitian that's on my team, and she definitely specializes in fertility, and then just that other like with our sex hormones, so like PCOS, and like severe PMS problems.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am more on the like postpartum side of things. We do a lot of stuff with like hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then I do a ton of stuff with gut health. And it's like, to me, gut health feels very separate from this perinatal health, even though gut health is like often the root of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I really love the gut stuff, and I think it's just because I suffered from constipation and bloating and gas for so long, and once it was finally resolved, I was like, oh, I feel like a new person. I don't like look 6 months pregnant all the time, and I'm more comfortable in my skin and my clothes. And so being able to help people, resolve bloating is the big one where they're like, I've been bloated forever. I've been constipated forever. There's no way this is going to get fixed. And then, within 2 to 3 months, they're feeling better. And they're like, I literally did not think this was possible.
Wow. That's a common thing people complain about that I hear too. So that's good to know.
Yep. Poop in a box, ship it off to a lab, and we will find some great things.
Is it common for, I mean, your postpartum ladies that come in, is their main goal usually weight loss or fat loss, or is it usually they just want to be feeling better in general?
Yeah, usually they're coming in with a weight loss goal, and then we are working on like all of these other foundations. And sometimes they don't end up losing weight, but then they're just so happy that they feel better. Or like if we can resolve some bloating, they're like, oh, it was bloating that was making me feel so uncomfortable. And it helps them be more comfortable in the weight that they're at. I'm sure you see this a lot, but weight loss is really challenging. It's not as
It
easy as
is.
like just work out a little bit more and eat a little bit less.
Right. And it's, I mean, at least on our end, it's that we're doing strength training. So they're going to be gaining muscle. And some ladies are just so focused on that number on the scale versus it's like, look at how you're feeling or see how you're feeling, see how your clothes are fitting. Cause like the weight on the scale isn't going to change as much as you hope it does. The only way that that's really going to happen is if you're doing like some sort of weight loss surgery, or doing some very extreme dieting, which is not recommended.
Right. And oftentimes it ends up messing up their thyroid or their sex hormones or, other things. And then it causes other issues. And so then it's like, why lose 20 pounds and then like your hair is falling out and
Right.
you have no energy? Like that's just not worth it to me.
Exactly. And you're more likely to gain that weight back as well
Yes.
and more. So do it the right way the first time.
I don't even have a scale in my entire, I don't have access to one. I was like, nope, don't need one, don't need to look at it.
People think that they're like, oh, can I come in and like do weight checks with you? And I'm like, well, I don't have a scale in the office. Also, that's not how I would suggest people to weigh themselves. Like if you're going to do it like at the same time, very consistent, like first thing in the morning before you've eaten anything, like because like when you're at the doctor, it's always like, oh, I'm 5 pounds heavier, and you don't need to make yourself feel bad because you like have clothes on and you've eaten.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of our issues is girls want to step on the scale. I'm like, we're going to do that just as like a first time thing at the studio. It's a measurement that we can use, but we're going to focus more on like the tape measurements that we take.
Yeah.
Because that's going to ultimately show the results or changes that we want to be seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because like I feel like there's a lot of like generational stuff here too. Like I've noticed in my parents, there's a lot of mindset things around like good, bad foods, scale, like weight and everything. And like I'll go home for the holidays and like they like the conversation of like weight and like how many pounds, somebody lost comes up and that's not good for you, stuff like that. And it's been definitely work to be like, okay, that's not the right way to think about all this.
Yes, you bring up such a good point because people always think that they're going to come in and work with us and we're going to give them like a list of foods that they can't eat. That's like one of the number one questions in people's first appointments, or if it's like they're considering working with us, they're like, well, what can't I eat? Or what do I need to hurry and like eat out of my house before I start working with you? And it's like, there's nothing that I'm going to say, like, you can't eat this. Sometimes we discover like food sensitivities, but that's like a completely different story. And I still tell people you can choose to eat gluten or dairy or whatever it is, but now you know that this is the reaction and this is how you feel, and you can make that choice. I am not telling you that you can never eat this food again.
Yeah, I think it's a way healthier way of looking at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, when you tell someone they can't have something, they just want it more.
For sure.
Exactly. And you like want to eat it all.
Exactly.
And
Um,
we don't have like endless willpower.
Right.
So it's like if you're like, I want to eat the cookie, but I know I can't eat the cookie, and my dietitian told me not to eat the cookie, like, yeah, not gonna end well.
yeah, not good. Where so in terms of like Kaitlyn, your business, Family Nutrition Solutions, like where do you envision it going and like what do you like hope that it is and for like our community?
Yeah, so we've chatted about this, but I feel like I'm missing that like community piece,
Mhm.
because so much of what we do is just one-on-one, and then we do a lot of like telehealth because it's more convenient for people. So I want to start bringing in some like group programs so people who are all pregnant at the same time can have that, group feel. They can feel like they're connected with other people in the community going through a similar journey.
Mhm.
Um, but I think for us and working primarily with moms, like telehealth is just going to be the way to do it. So trying to bring in that community feel while still being virtual.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Cool. Yay. Well, Kaitlyn, so where can people like connect with you or find you on social media or if they're interested in like working with you, how can they find you and get in contact?
Yes, so we have two Instagrams. I talk about all of like mom and a little bit more nutrition related things at dietitian_Kaitlyn. And then recipes, different like food hacks, ways to make things easier to eat healthier. All of that stuff is at Family Nutrition Solutions on Instagram. And then if you are interested in working with us, our website is fns.health, and there's a form on there where it's like 3 questions, and you can just input what you're looking for, and we reach out usually within a day to help you get set up for an appointment.
Cool. Awesome.
And we do accept insurance. And so I think that's a really big piece because there are obviously lots of financial struggles. And so we like to help kind of take that load off and be able to bill insurance so that people can see us and keep up with the like accountability piece that sometimes people just need to like continue to stay in touch with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much. It's super fun. Um, and thank all of y'all for listening. Yeah.
All right.
High five.